Hi, everyone. This is Lauren Fogelman. Thank you so much for joining us. We're talking about pricing strategy, transition of value pricing without hurting your income. And part of what we're going to be focusing on today is the fact that about 57% of entrepreneurs actually undercharge for their services. It just pains me when, as business owners, we take all the risk of growing our business and then we fail to enjoy the rewards. And that happens to most business owners simply because we don't know how to price our services. Well, part of what we're going to be fixing today is understanding how to price your services for value in order to stop trading dollars per hour. Because when you really think about it, your clients aren't looking to really buy your time. They want to hire you to help them get a specific result or outcome. If you are an entrepreneur who actually started out working for someone else and now you have your own business, you were always paid by the hour or by the salary, you just went into that model with your business also, then you are absolutely in the right place. If maybe you've been thinking about raising your rates, and a lot of times we think about raising our rates for a lot longer before we actually get that done because it's one of the hardest things that a business owner can do. We're going to start to cover that too today. If you've heard about value pricing, been curious about it, wanted to know really what that is and how it works, we are going to dive into that deeply today also in order to help you start to separate your fees from time. What I have learned from myself as well as the people that I've been working with on their businesses over the years is our education does a great job at giving us that skill set of what we do, how we help people, have those technical skills, being able to be great at that profession that we're choosing to go into. The other thing that our education happens to do is it prepares us to work as an employee for someone else as opposed to being an entrepreneur or a business owner. Because of that, you don't always have the business skills matching your technical skills. You're still great at what you do, but you might be having a gap between what it is you want to achieve in your business and the information that's going to help you be able to achieve that. That was true for me also. I got everything that I needed to be able to help people be able to reach their full potential, but I was trained to work for somebody else, to go into an agency. When I decided that I wanted to be a business owner instead, I had to figure out how to do sales conversations, how to do marketing, and how to price my services and networking. Those are some of the things I didn't get through school that really made a difference for my business as well. In 2018, as well as 2019, I was listed by HubSpot among their top 22 business coaches. It was quite an honor. And part of the reason I see that is because I really am a champion for entrepreneurs wanting to have a business that supports your lifestyle. Too many of us, we go into our business and we end up trading a 9-to-5 paycheck, and we just go into a business being self-employed where we're still working just as hard, if not even harder, for simply a paycheck. A lot of times that is because we're going into a business with an employee mindset as opposed to an employer mindset. And because I really am so passionate about it, I've had the opportunity to speak around the country. I've been able to be regular featured article writer for Intuit, as well as some other industry websites and resources, and just want to be able to get the message out there that if you understand pricing and some other things, it changes not only your business, it changes your life as well. Steve, I would love for you as my co-host to be able to take a moment to introduce yourself.
Well, hi everybody. I'm Steve Fogelman. I'm Lauren's CSO, which stands for Chief Support Officer. So I support her in any way that I can, and I also do a monthly leadership call, which is a strategy call that we do to our mastermind members. And I'm going to be just kind of asking some questions and kind of facilitating the process today. So thanks for having me on. I love it.
Absolutely. And for those of you that don't know, Steve and I have been working together in some capacity since 1981. With the beginning, we had a counseling agency. Steve was the director. I was in the trenches working with my clients. And then in 2009, I made a switch and started to gradually move into business coaching.
Mm-hmm.
Steve sold the agency a couple of years later and is now really supporting me in this as not a co-owner, but more of, as he said, that chief support officer, coming more as really that support person and an employee as opposed to a co-owner. And it really has been a great fit for both of us, but there's been some interesting pieces that come up along the way as we continue to figure this out.
How true that is.
And what we're going to cover today is the number one pricing mistake, value pricing services, and 5 steps to value pricing. I will give you absolutely as much as I can in the time that we have together. And for those of you that are really interested in what I have to offer, I came up with something really, really special that I'm going to be talking about maybe 2/3 of the way through our training today, that is going to help you not just get the information of what we're talking about, but really help you roll up your sleeves and actually get it done. Because the sooner that you start moving in this direction, the more money that you make. And if I can help you make money sooner, it's compounding interest, helping you towards whatever that dream is that you have that much sooner.
So let's get started, Lauren. Let's talk about the number one pricing mistake. I'm really, really curious to see what that is. So go ahead and let us know what the number one pricing mistake is. And I know that the next slide is about the hourly rate. So why shift away from the billable hour? Everybody's been using the hourly rate and they've been using this fixed price. Why are we shifting our clients away from the billable hour to value pricing?
Well, my research into all the different pricing models has shown that when you are charging for your time and how long it takes to do something, it's not really what your clients want to buy. They're not really interested in how much time it takes, even though the first question is always, what's your hourly rate? It's more that they don't know the question to ask. What they really want to know is, can you help me solve my problem? And actually, there's more value to solving their problem quickly than having it be a long, drawn out thing for them. So the billable hour is what we think we ought to be doing, because most of us came from being employees where we were paid by the hour. But that is not the best thing to do if you are a service-based business owner. And part of the reason why is when you charge by the hour, you're seen as a cost. A potential client is comparing you to everybody else that is doing something similar and looking at basically, are you going to be the cheapest person that gives the most value? That's how they're basing their decision. When we start to shift away from charging by the hour and really focusing on value, then you're seen more as an investment, and the price-sensitive clients aren't really going to be a great fit for you any longer, because you're going to start attracting clients who really value what you have to offer as opposed to how cheap they can get this thing done. The other thing is that price, from what I have seen, is actually subjective. And I'll go into that in a couple minutes, but when you look at pricing, it's not about time, as I mentioned before. It's about understanding what your clients' wants, needs, and desires are. If you can really connect with their wants, needs, and desires, and they can see that you can help them achieve those things and actually trust you to deliver on those promises that you're making, then they're not going to be price sensitive about how much time it takes. They're going to recognize that you're going to help them achieve something or do something that they simply can't do on their own. So there's a lot of value in being able to shift away from an hourly rate.
And Lauren, shifting away from the billable hour really sounds appealing. But what starts to separate fees from time? How do you do that?
It's really interesting, Steve, because what I have found from my years of research on pricing, me working with hundreds of clients over the years, even me continuing to get coaching and mentoring, is that what we think it is very different. It comes
Mm,
down to one thing. It comes down to value. If we can connect with value and have a value business, then it actually is going to set you up for success. And there's three different types of value that an entrepreneur that's listening to us right now wants to start to consider to make this shift. It's first about personal value, self-value. You have to value yourself, the information that you're giving your clients, the difference that you make for them, the transformation they get because they decided to work with you. Personal value is a huge part of it. It takes a lot of courage to be able to shift away from hourly billing into value-based pricing. And therefore, you have to really connect with your own value before anybody else is going to recognize the value that you have to offer. Personal value is the first part of the value equation. The second part of the value equation is my favorite topic, value pricing. It's about connecting your fees to an outcome or a result as opposed to time. Your highest value is what you know, not what you do. And when you start to price your services according to your expertise and what you know, it's a total game changer in so many different ways. And then the third part of this, once you connect to your personal value, as you start to price for value, you want to figure out how do you have value conversations with potential clients in order for them to recognize the value of what you have to offer. When you do this, you don't have to sell any longer, which is one of the most painful things for most of us as entrepreneurs is sales. Well, when you have a value conversation with the potential clients, it's no longer about you having to pitch them, about you having to convince them. They actually see the value that you have to offer from the conversation. And if it's a great fit, they're going to naturally ask you, how does this work? And part of the value conversation goes into, as I mentioned before, understanding the needs, wants, and desires. And we'll focus on that in just a moment.
So value is really sometimes difficult to describe. I know that I have a hard time describing the value about certain things. But when it comes to pricing, it's even more difficult to describe. How do you explain the relationship between value and between pricing?
It was hard for me to understand the difference between value and pricing at first as well, but I want to be able to explain it with a story. If I have this as a bottle of water, I'm speaking at a conference that you just tend to be at, you're thirsty, you want to go to the back of the room, and I have bottles of water for sale, you might spend maybe $1 or $2. And Steve, I would love for you to open up the chat and be able to see what people say with this next part that I'm going to go into.
I have.
Now, let's say that you have been walking around in the hot, dry desert for 3 long days. It's August, the hottest time of the year. You don't know when you go over that next sand dune if you're going to be seeing more sand dunes in a sea of sand dunes, or maybe you might see the lights of a small town. That would be your ticket to freedom. But it's been 72 hours and we can only survive without water for about 72 hours. And then here I show up with the same exact bottle of water, same packaging, same amount of ounces, and you know that you don't have much energy left in you to possibly make it out of the desert. And I am offering to sell this to you. How much would you pay then? Steve, I would love to see what are people putting in the chat as to how much they would pay for this now.
Okay. I got $1,000. from somebody.
Okay, $1,000, great.
Yeah, we can. Do I hear 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10?
I'll make Roy.
200, we went down $800. I don't know why. I guess we didn't show the value in that bottle of water on the desert. Maybe we need to stay out there longer. But yeah, so let's go with $1,000.
Okay, and I have my Square. That way, if you don't have cash, I will be able to swipe your credit card. However, the important thing to recognize is that the packaging, the amount of ounces in this bottle of water did not change whatsoever. What changed was your need, your wants, and your desires.
Mhm.
Basically, you need the water in order to survive. You're at that 72-hour mark, and if you go much longer, you're not going to be able to last without that water. So you need it for survival. You want the water because you have the scratchiness in your throat. You're in the hot desert for 3 days. Your throat is parched. Your lips are blistered. You want to be able to relieve that discomfort. And the third part of it is you desire to continue living and make it out of the desert. It's not your time yet. You're not going to give up. And because of me being able to connect and the fact that your needs, your wants, and your desires are different when you're in the desert as opposed to in a presentation that I'm giving, it wasn't that the water changed. It was that your needs, wants, and desires shifted. If you can connect with a potential client's needs, wants, and desires in that way, you find out what is that dry, hot desert for them, and that they see that you have what's going to help them not just fix the problem, but help them continue to have that transformation and getting out and continuing forward in a bigger way than they thought possible. Then no longer will your fees be connected to time. They will absolutely be able to see the value of what you have to offer.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first met Ingrid, she just had transitioned from a home-based business into having an office. She felt like she was really moving forward, and now she was really having a business instead of maybe a hobby. We were talking about what it was that she wanted to do with her business. She wanted to not only make changes for the cash flow of her clients because she was doing bookkeeping, she also wanted to elevate bookkeeping to a higher level where it was seen more as a par with other accounting professions as opposed to maybe a step down below accountants or enrolled agents. She wanted to take it and really bring it up to an equal footing. As we were going through those things that she wanted, we started to work together and we identified her ideal client, because at that point she was working with a wide range of clients, and her best client happened to be aligned with her personal interests. She loves to travel and she does some really adventurous things. She decided that her ideal client was going to be niched in the adventure tourism industry. Once we did that, then we really started to look at who she was working with that was no longer fit for her, as well as the clients that were a fit, how to be able to make an offer to them that was very client attractive, how to be able to get in front of them so that they knew that she existed and how she could potentially help them, and looking at, once again, separating her fees from time. I will let you know that when I first talked to Ingrid about value pricing, she gave me a lot of pushback, really a lot of pushback, because she was really set in wanting to be fair, and the only way that she could be fair would be by charging by the hour. What I was able to, over a series of conversations, explain to her was actually charging by the hour is not only unfair to her clients, it's unfair to her too. The reason that charging by the hour is unfair to her clients is because an hourly rate reinforces inefficiency. You make more money when you're not that fast as opposed to when you do things very quickly. The reason that an hourly rate for her was unfair is because it fully discounted her expertise and her years of training and knowledge, and how she brings that all to the table now to really help her clients be able to be more profitable and have better cash flow. And as she was eventually able to get on board with that, to wrap her mind around it, and we continued to shift how she priced her services, she eventually doubled her business. Her income doubled while cutting away 30% of her clients. Not only that, but she became an industry expert on bookkeeping and being more profitable for her particular niche, the adventure tourism industry. She is speaking on their stages, and she's also speaking on the stages for bookkeepers as well, teaching them about how to make this transformation into being what's called a trusted advisor, where you lead with your expertise as opposed to focusing on the bookkeeping, which is just something that you do, which keeps you in a competitive place with everybody else. So those are the things that happen when you actually start to make the shift away into value pricing. However, it absolutely is a mindset change which challenges some of your current beliefs or how everybody else has been doing things, and how you might be getting attention or pushback because you might start doing things differently than everybody else.
So Lauren, the next thing that we're going to be looking at is how to value price your services. And how do you keep your clients, or how do you help your clients transition to value pricing? How do you do that?
Well, this is absolutely the place where if you don't have pen and paper out yet, you absolutely want it out now. Because I'm going to go through some of the steps of how to begin to get into value pricing and be able to make that shift. And the first thing is that a lot of times we get stuck in the research phase. We keep on thinking about it. We keep on doing research. We maybe take more trainings on it. But eventually, if you want to value price your services, you have to roll up your sleeves and get it done. When people come into my value pricing course that I offer, we're not just talking about it and thinking about it. We're actually rolling up our sleeves and figuring out what needs to get done in order to be able to make this transition in your business as well. So the very first thing is recognizing that you want to have an idea of who your ideal client is. And it can be done in a couple of different ways. It could be done by industry, which is what I did with Ingrid, is her focusing on the adventure tourism industry. That's one way. It could be done by demographics, which is the most popular way that you hear about it. However, I think it's the least effective. The demographics is whether someone's married, where they live in the world, how much education they have, their income. That's good, but it might be that there are still people that might fall into your demographic that you don't really enjoy working with that much. And the third part is psychographics. And that is a much better way to go than demographics, because now you're working with people who are a personality match for you. They are people who you enjoy having conversations with or doing the work for. They appreciate what you bring to the table. They're eager to work to learn more from you. And Steve, I would love for you to put in the chat a question about whether people have an ideal client. And
I just put that in there. Yeah.
Thank you so much for anticipating my needs.
Yeah,
I so appreciate that about you.
No problem.
But we want to know the psychographics, and the psychographics are more about personality type. Are they people that need a lot of hand holding, or are they people that just need a little bit of information and then they're go-getters? Those are some of the things to think about. Are they people who really overthink things, or are they people who make quick decisions? And start to look at those personality traits of the clients that you work with, that you work best with. And those are some of the things that you really want to become aware of as we're starting to focus on psychographics. So Steve, any feedback in there about what people see as their ideal clients?
Yes, Catherine says, I've identified the industry and firm size, but not the personality traits yet. And Sandra said, I struggle with this initially. I thought it was service-based professionals, but they are energy draining.
That's a good thing to know.
Absolutely.
And so sometimes you come onto your ideal client by eliminating ones that you don't want to work with. So it doesn't mean that you are a slow learner or that you're doing anything wrong, but sometimes it's more of a series of elimination instead of absolutely knowing right off the bat. For me, it actually took probably 5 or 6 years for me to figure out the industry. I knew the psychographics of who my ideal clients are. I love to work with people who overthink things. They don't like making mistakes. They're a little bit risky at first. They know what they want. They just don't know how to get it done on their own. And they need someone to be able to show them the steps. That is pretty much who my ideal client is for the most part. As far as the industry goes, it's something that was a process for me because there were a couple different industries that I was looking at for several years before I was able to finally make that decision as to which one was my ideal client. Now, the thing about an ideal client that I want to share with you is it lets you focus on who you want to attract, so where you want to put your efforts as to how you want to get in front of someone and who you want to get in front of. But if someone comes to you that's outside of that particular industry or scope, and it feels like you would like to work with them and you could help them and it would be fun for you, then you can do that. This is your business. You get to make the choices as to who you want to work with or not. The thing about an ideal client is it lets you know where to focus your energy as far as marketing and networking. But if someone comes to you outside of that scope, you could work with them if you want to. It's not a black and white thing. Once again, you get to make the choices. So we have ideal client. And then the other thing that I want to say helps you really shift into value pricing is to be able to come up with 3 packages. The beautiful thing about packages is it lets you start to price your services according to value instead of time. And a lot of times when you're pricing for an hourly rate, you're offering things a la carte. I was just talking with someone earlier today about her pricing where she's still in the hourly rate. She wants to be able to switch over. She makes sure that she tracks everything. So even if it's responding to an email or doing some type of research that's a couple of minutes for a client, she is billing them, whether it's a 1-minute increment or a 6-minute increment or 15 minutes. She was saying that she felt sensitive having that on her end of the month bill to her clients because she didn't want them to think that she was nickel and diming them. And that's why I was explaining to her that having packages starts to take that away where you're so timed to your watch and how much time something takes. It breaks you free from that to let you just focus on what the client needs and what's in their best interest, as opposed to how long you're taking doing some work for them. When you start to look at packages, the model is having 3. The reason is because people like having choices. That's really what it comes down to, is people want to have choices. When you have 3, now the choice is how they want to work with you, as opposed to if they want to work with you or if they want to work with someone else. The 3 different packages, which I call here for simplification, silver, gold, and diamond, acknowledges that not all your clients have the same needs when they want to work with you. There's a variety of different needs. The silver package is for the most price-sensitive clients. They're the ones who see the value of working with you. However, they can't quite afford to work with you at the next level of package, or they might be relatively cheap and price-sensitive, and they want to work with you because they know that you can help them, but they don't want to make a bigger investment than what your silver package has to offer. This lets them work with you at a lower level. They might be doing more of the work themselves instead of you doing the work for them, so you're just giving them guidance. Or it might be that it's a way for them to try out your services to see if it's a fit before they jump into a larger package. But the silver package is absolutely for those price-sensitive clients. It's the very basic of what they need to be able to get that result from working with you. The gold package is really the standard. The majority of your clients will fit into the gold package. What you want to think about is, what do most of your clients need and desire when they sign on with you? And to be able to put all of that in there and maybe a little bit more. With the gold package, it's looking at really bundling all those things together, and that you're focusing on what they get delivered to them and how it benefits them, then how much time it takes. And that helps you start to break away from time, because we're now bundling things together. It really shifts the focus to how much time, to the fact that you're just delivering these things that they need for their business or for their personal life, if you're in the health and wellness industry. So to recognize that this creates bundles, and it is the easiest way to start to separate your fees from time. And then the diamond package is for people who want the most access to you. They need a little bit more hand holding. It could be that they have some specifics that the other clients don't have. And you want to make sure that if you have to make some adjustments or do some additional things, that it's seen as value and that they are willing to invest in that. So it might be, if you're a bookkeeper, a person that fits in the diamond package could be someone who wants you to come on site, as opposed to doing most of your bookkeeping online. So if someone wants you to come on site, then that is a little bit different than what you do. It takes more time. Your work isn't as efficient when you're working on site either. And so that goes into a diamond package. Or maybe they have other exceptions where they want a special type of report from you, or they need certain information, or they want you to maybe help them with other things that don't quite fit into your standard program. So anytime there's certain exceptions, those are people who are probably a better fit for a diamond package, because they just have different needs, and they want more of your time and attention. And your time is your highest value. I feel that if you're going to be taking time away from your personal life, family, doing things that you enjoy, you ought to be well compensated for that. And the packages start to help you move in that direction. Steve, were there any questions or things coming up about?
Yeah, actually, there was from Jennifer. She wants to know that she says she uses packages, but I create the packages based on what the client needs versus they needs. Must they choose from the 3 I have, or are you suggesting to only have 3 packages that everyone gets to choose from?
When you're looking at value pricing, what you do is you're actually pricing the client as opposed to your service. What I feel with bookkeeping is that all your clients are going to have some different needs that will be unique to their business. When I help you go ahead and create your packages, we'll create a baseline, silver, gold, and diamond, because most of your clients that are silver will need certain things. Most of your clients that are gold will need certain things, and then diamonds will need other things. And then we just get to adjust it a little bit instead of starting from scratch each and every time for your clients. So I feel that you want to create that foundation, and then you just need to make some simple adjustments and then change the price accordingly to those adjustments that you make. But you don't want to start it over every single time with your clients. You want to have a template that you're working from.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Were there any other questions that were coming up?
Let's see. I use, what about 8 payments, not 12?
Oh, okay. That's a great question. So I'm glad that you're really looking at this. What I feel for me, and what I've seen with my clients, is you can get paid in full for a years of services, if that's how long or however long your packages go for, before you do the work. A lot of people do billing. They get paid after they do the work, or they get bill, or they get paid ahead of time on a monthly basis. I have found that my best clients pay me in full before we even get started. That way they're all in, there's no questions. When things come up, they're more likely to actually reach out to me because they see me as a team member and a partner in their success. It just changes everything as far as their mindset. They're skin in the game, and they're more invested. When they go ahead and pay me on any type of payment plan, and I don't do a monthly payment plan with any of my clients, but when they pay me some type of prorated plan, I find that they need to have a conversation in their head every time before they make a payment as to whether they want to continue to move forward or not. It's like they left themselves a little bit of an out about not being fully committed to this. And the other part of it is that I don't want to finance somebody working with me. I'm not a financial expert. I'm a pricing expert. So if someone's working with me, I really want them to be all in. And I will say, I did the monthly pricing in the beginning and it was costing me money. I was losing money because of it. And that's when I actually jumped into working with a coach where I paid $18,000 for the year to be able to figure this piece out because I was losing money having people pay me on a monthly basis. And she helped me figure it out in 90 days. I got my full investment back before the year was out. I mean, I continued on actually 2 years with her because I was getting so much value, but I'm just saying that I knew the problem. I didn't know how to fix it. And it was well worth the value of having someone show me what to do to fix it. But the bottom line is that they're having that conversation every single month about whether they want to continue working with me or not, even if they're in a contract with me in an engagement. And I want people that are fully committed, have skin in the game, all in, and I want them to reach out to me when something comes up, as opposed to possibly saying, oh, this is too tough, I'm not going to do it, I quit. Because it just breaks my heart when I know that someone is coming up against their own stuff, and then they go back to their comfort zone, when if they just would have reached out, or we would have had a little bit more time to work through those things, they would have been able to get over that hurdle and be able to have this make a difference in their bottom line as well as their lifestyle. So that's why I encourage my clients to pay in full as opposed to doing any type of payments with me.
So Lauren, we have a question from Danielle. She wants to know, how do you respond to the question, how much do you charge?
Oh, that is like the most typical question everybody's going to ask first. Danielle, what I have found is people ask that because they've just been trained to ask that. They don't know what they really want to ask. And what they really want to ask is if you can help me and can you actually deliver on what you promised? That's what they really want to know. When they ask me how much do you charge, I let them know that I don't even talk about whether we're going to work together or not unless I know if I can help you. And because of that, I offer a complimentary strategy session. So let's get on the phone or on a Zoom call and let's talk about what's going on with you. And that way I can find out what it is that you really want and whether I can help you fix that or not. And then if it looks like a fit, we can talk about it. So that is my response, is that I explain, I don't really talk about my prices because I don't even know if I want to work with you or not, or if I can help you. And let's go ahead and do a 15-minute or an hour, whatever time you want to take for a complimentary strategy session.
Great.
So I'm going to move forward, Steve, onto the next slide, okay?
Sure, go ahead.
And if there's other questions, save them and I will come back.
Sure.
Once you put your packages together, you want to know how to have a value conversation. A value conversation is not being salesy. It's not about convincing someone to work with you. It's really about knowing the exact right questions to ask that connect with their needs, their wants, and their desires. As you become aware of what that person's needs, wants, and desires are, they realize that they're having a different type of conversation with you than they do with everybody else who does something similar to you or might see you as competition. It's a different experience that they're having right there, which has value in and of itself. Because you're focusing on them and not making it about you, they're actually starting to begin to trust you that you can actually deliver on what you say that you can, because you're asking certain questions that most people don't ask. It's about the fact that you're making it really about learning about them. And the important thing to recognize with that is they have to recognize that you care about them before they're willing to make any type of investment in working with you. Therefore, having a value conversation establishes you more as an advisor, no matter whether you sell some type of business-to-business service or some type of softer service like health and wellness. but it lets them see by the questions that you're asking that you genuinely care about them as an individual, as opposed to just being more money in your bank account at the end of the month, that you know what you're talking about because the types of questions that you're asking, you're getting a sense of what's really going on with them instead of maybe putting them into something that's cookie cutter. The thing that happens when you sell your services is that you're trying to diagnose or you're trying to prescribe a remedy before you really know what the problem is. Now, if you went to a doctor for back pain, and as soon as the doctor walked into the examination room to see you, the doctor said, okay, we're scheduling surgery for you, for your back, so that we can go ahead and fuse these two discs in your spine together. You couldn't get dressed fast enough and out that office fast enough because you don't have any trust. That doctor has nothing to base that prescription on. And that's what happens when most people get in sales conversations with their clients, is that they're prescribing surgery before they've done the exam or the diagnostics. We need to correct that. The value conversation is a diagnostic where you're starting to get a sense of what's going on. And once you know that, you're in a better position to then prescribe what's going to help meet those clients' needs. So that's the value conversation. And the next thing is that if you're talking to someone and you feel like they are a fit, you want to ask them to take that next step with you. You don't want to have it where they think about it or they see the value, but you never ask them to engage with you, which is what happens with so many entrepreneurs that are uncomfortable with sales. They never ask that person to go ahead and get started. When you do that, you're coming from a place of being of service instead of a taker. And a lot of reason that most entrepreneurs don't ask that potential client to engage is because they think that as the entrepreneur, you're taking money from them, that there's something that's not ethical or right about it. Well, in my opinion, I don't know if it's really of a potential client's best interest for them to see the value, for them to get really in touch with what's going on with their business and where things aren't working, and to see that there's a potential to fix it, but then they've never been offered the opportunity to step through that door and get that taken care of. Therefore, I see it coming of service, of being able to know how to ask in a way that feels genuine and authentic for you, where it's more of an invitation as opposed to closing the sale. Because, closing the sale, and the reason that most of us don't like to ask, because it feels so transactional. You're a service provider. You're not transactional. You're relational. And that's why you want to have it where you ask certain questions during the value conversation. They will ask you how it works. And if it's a good fit, you extend an invitation of working together. If it's not a good fit, you can just give them some suggestions, bless them, and send them on their way.
Mm-hmm. So Lauren, we have a question from Julie. How about an a la carte approach where you have a set price for each thing, such as AR, payroll, etc.? Any thoughts about that?
Yes, it's complicated. I have seen that model. I've seen that model taught. If you're doing it for your back office purposes, where you know how much each thing is being priced, what that does is it prices your service. It doesn't price the client. Because it could be that one client that maybe is a solopreneur, pricing it for that is going to be simpler than it maybe if you have a client that has 30 employees working with them and maybe has more complexity because they just have more offerings that they are delivering. Therefore, when you're doing that, you're pricing what you do as opposed to the value that it has to the client. You're leaving money on the table. When you get into the value-based pricing, you're pricing the value that it has to the client. And yes, it's going to have lower value to a single person business than it would to someone who has a company with 30 employees. And so the person with 30 employees would be actually willing to pay more for that same thing because for your time, there's probably more complexity getting that information together as well. So I would focus on the fact that that puts you still in the compliance piece of it with bookkeeping, and it doesn't lead with your expertise of the knowledge that you have, and how not just delivering the information, but helping them understand how to integrate that information into their business so they're more profitable, or they're lowering costs so they're leaner, will benefit them. So it's a great question. It makes a lot of sense in one degree if it helps you put packages together, but different sized businesses are going to need some of the same information, but it might be more complex. And so you don't want to have one price. It's similar to kind of like doing like an hourly, a fixed rate then. So it puts you into fixed pricing, but doesn't put you into value-based pricing.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
And Steve, I wanted to transition into talking about Kelly for a moment, because when I first started working with Kelly, Kelly has a great reputation in the community that she lives in. And she's very involved. However, she's a perfectionist. She doesn't like pushback. She didn't want to step on anybody's toes. She was afraid of someone being contrarian and not agreeing with what she had to say. Because of that, she diminished what she brought to the table. She downplayed her expertise, and she was playing a smaller game than what she was capable of playing. What we did is we started to first shift away from being a perfectionist, because it was actually taking a lot of time that didn't need to be taken. And an example is that if she was writing a blog post to get information out there, it would take like 8 hours to write a blog post, because she wanted to make sure that nobody was going to have a negative comment or come back and say, what do you mean? Nobody else is talking about it this way. She was so afraid of other people not agreeing with her. And it watered down what she had to offer. And we shifted away from perfectionism to excellence, where there was some room for making mistakes. It made her a little bit more connected with the human side of her, which is the fact that we will eventually make mistakes. We're all human. It let her start to get information out faster. It also opened up doors for her, where she was then more willing over time to start to really connect with her message and her platform and the people that she truly helped. From her messaging getting stronger, she started to get invited onto stages and then eventually morning TV shows, where she was able to get her message out in a much bigger way. And the end result is she became a spokesperson as well for the American Heart Association. And the main thing that happened is that she had to get out of her own way. She knew what she wanted. She just didn't know how to do it without stepping on people's toes. So we needed to really look at how she was showing up and reframing some things to where it was going to be okay. And once we kind of unleashed that part of her, she was moving forward with packages. She changed her pricing. She got really clear on who she wanted to work with. She decided that she didn't want to do private sessions with people anymore. She just wanted to do group programs, because speaking and trainings were really important to her also. Plus she had her son at home, and she wanted to be able to have the time carved out to be able to spend time with him as well. And it made a huge difference, where it went from just being known locally to now being a spokesperson for the American Heart Association and getting in front of all these different stages. So it's not just about knowing what to do and having the tactical steps. It's not just about the strategy, that 30,000 foot view of what it is that you want as the end results. It's also that it takes a lot of shifting how you look at things, what you believe is true, what's really true, where you are holding yourself back in order to step forward with this. And that is probably the hardest part for many, many entrepreneurs, is the whole mindset piece of shifting from an employee mindset into a CEO mindset. So Steve, there's a link. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to say that before we go into the final section, I know that you discussed value pricing even further, and I know that you put together something really, really fantastic. And I wanted you to tell us what you've done, and I'm going to go ahead and put in the link.
Thank you. And so just
the
so
link
that you
is
know,
right there.
Yeah, just so that you know, we're not at the end. I have one entire section that gives you the whole 5 steps of getting the value pricing really implemented that I'm going to go through. But I know that some people might need to jump off because it's going to be top of the hour. And I just want to talk about the special thing that I've been putting together. I am chomping at the bit with this program. It's called the Ultimate Pricing Bootcamp. If you're in front of your computer, you can go to businesssuccesssolution.com/pricing. It lays it all out. There's more information there than you could possibly want, but I wanted to make sure that I answered every single question about this bootcamp. And basically, it takes everything that I've talked about in this training that I'm doing here, and we're not just talking about it anymore. We're rolling up our sleeves and we're getting it done. If you have been thinking about value pricing, you're wondering about how to make the shift, how to be able to create those value packages, how do you even go ahead and onboard someone into that when you've been charging by the hour all this time, we get all those things solved in order for you to be able to double your income working half the time. That's my platform. That's where I come from. That's what I want to have happen for you, is that you're no longer tied to time. And in order to earn more, you have to work more. I want to free you from the dollars per hour trap. With that, this is going to be all live group coaching sessions. There's no videos where you have to do homework on your own because I know that you're busy. Most people don't watch the videos. They don't do the self-study part of it. When you show up, you get work done. And what we're going to do is really look at positioning your service as the ultimate solution. When we do this, you stop competing with other people who are doing something similar. So I really work on the positioning right out of the get-go. And I do this with all my clients that pay me 5 figures to work with them privately or go into my mastermind private coaching program. But this one is really going to be very, very affordable. You ought to recoup your entire investment before the whole 5 weeks is done. So we position your service as the ultimate solution. Then we go into defining your signature system. Let me explain what that means. If you look at the most successful people in your category, they all have a system. They all have a certain process they take people through that help them get some particular outcome or result. This is true if you do business-to-business services or if you do health and wellness. But you have a system. And even if you're more of a creative, organic person and you don't really have a system, or you don't think so, you do. Trust me, I've worked with creatives. I've worked with people that are very organized, methodical. Everybody has a system, whether you realize it or not. Once we start to define those specific steps that you take with your clients to help them get that outcome or benefit, then it once again gives you expert status. It gives you more credibility than someone that is focusing just on the tasks that they do. It lets your potential clients see that you actually have a process. This isn't going to be an open-ended, never-ending thing, and they don't ever know when it's going to help them get that result that they want. So this takes something that for a potential client might be a very abstract concept of how do we get there? If you say that you can help me with this, how do we actually get there? And you can say, well, first we do this, and then we do this, and then this is what happens, and this is what we focus on. When you could just lay it all out like that, it's like the blueprint. It conceptualizes it, and then like, oh, now I can see how this works. And that right there, like I said, gives you expert status. It gives you more credibility. It starts to separate you from everybody else that is able to help them achieve a similar result. So it stops you from competing with other people. The third session we're going to focus on is unchaining yourself from charging for the hour. This is where we get to create those packages for you and really fine tune them. I was just talking with my mastermind clients yesterday about the packages that they're creating, and that with some of them, they missed some of the most important things that they have to offer regarding expertise. They didn't include that or highlight in their packages, and as a result, their packages don't have the full value that they could have. There's also typically some things that you do that you don't know how to charge for, and you're doing for free. And we get to fix that with your packages so that the things that you don't know how to charge for, you tend to write off, or you feel is nickel and diming someone, is now included in the pricing of your packages. And therefore, it's really bundling things together instead of it being that a la carte, which was what was coming up with an earlier question. It changes everything. Plus, because of the fact that most of the people in your industry don't offer packages, people can't now compare your rates to anybody else's because it's just set up differently. But coming from this of, I know exactly what you need to get that solution. This is it all laid out. It's exactly what we're going to do. It gives a potential client confidence, and they can see the value of what you have to offer. It also prevents you from starting to do work that's outside the scope, and it takes care of scope creep. And if that's when that comes up and you don't feel like that got answered in the package session, ask the question. I will absolutely show you how to take care of the scope creep card and deal with that conversation as well. But this solves it for you. And then in the fourth session, we deal with the mindset shifts, because so often we have stuff around money, about charging for our services, about raising our rates. We don't want people to think that we're guilty. We don't want to lose clients if we raise our rates. How can we charge that much if nobody else does, including my mentor? I want to help you break through those barriers, because once we shift that around, it opens up the possibility. And this is something that happened with one of my clients that I just started working with maybe about 2 months ago. Is she undervalued what she brought to the table all the time. She would have her rates and she knew what they were. And when she brought it out, she would bring out a lower price than what she meant to say, because it was the whole money thing was just so uncomfortable for her. We started to work on that. We started to come up with the system, the packages, how to be able to shift into this. And she told me about the fact that she just got had someone sign on for a package that was 5 times more than what she would have offered if we wouldn't have done that work ahead of time.
Wow.
And that paid for almost more than half of her year of private coaching with me, was that one move. And we just started working together. We still have more time left to be able to get it done. So the transformations happen very, very quickly. And a lot of time, it has to do with the mindset piece. So I make sure that you don't just get the tactical stuff and the strategy. I want to make sure that you're not having things come up where you're holding yourself back, or it doesn't feel genuine or authentic, or you're afraid that you're going to become greedy if you make more money, or the fact that if you make more money, then there's other things that come up as a problem. Because I will let you know, fear of success is the most primary fear that entrepreneurs deal with. It's the most common one. It's the least talked about one. And it is absolutely my favorite one to help entrepreneurs break through. So we will absolutely come into that, come in with my background of sports psychology and a business coaching. I understand the shift that needs to happen to go from being an average athlete into a winning athlete. And what works for athletes as far as the mindset shift applies to entrepreneurs. And I've just taken what worked in one industry and I changed it into entrepreneurs, because there's so many similarities between athletes and entrepreneurs anyway. And we're able to really get these things out of the way so you can really stand up and fully own your value, never have to diminish what you offer again. And then the 5th step is up-level your worth. And that's where we really get into the conversation of valuing for what you offer, your expertise, as opposed to time. This is where we get to ditch the alley, where we separate your fees from time and really connect with the value that your client sees in what you have to offer. And that is the key thing that most people miss when they think about value pricing. It's not about what value you think that you offer. It is about the value that a potential client sees in what you have to offer. And this really solves their problem. And the bottom line is, I am so convinced that this is an investment in your business that is going to have returns like compounding interest over and over and over again once you do it, that if after the first 2 sessions you sign up and after the first 2 sessions you're not satisfied, let me know. I will fully refund your money. So there's absolutely no risk to you. I'm putting all the risk on me because I am so confident that you will make this back if you simply roll up your sleeves with me and we get it done. And the other thing, just to let you know, is that this is a program that I love so much, and I've seen it transform so many business owners, that I want to give you an incentive to really get into it now. It starts in February, but by getting into it now, the first 10 people that register, I will bonus a half-hour time with me to where I review your packages and we go through it with you, answer all your questions so that you can really move forward with confidence. Not just courage, but the confidence also. So if you feel like this is something for you, I wouldn't wait. businesssuccesssolution.com/pricing. It is typically $2,000. Right now, while I'm promoting the program, it's $1,000. The first 10 people who register get that half-hour package review with me as well.
Lauren, that's fantastic because this really gets it done. And because new clients will be paying for value rather than time, basically the program pays for itself. So it's like a no risk opportunity. I think it's fantastic. So this is wrapping it up now. Let's look at the 5 steps to value pricing, which is still, you have all of this content still to present to us. I'm really excited.
Absolutely. And I will say the very first thing is that when you look at making that shift to value pricing, the biggest challenge, whether you're a solo entrepreneur or if you are a Fortune 500 business, legacy business, the biggest problem that all these businesses face has to do with pricing, raising their rates, being able to make that price difference without losing customers. It takes courage, and the courage comes before the confidence. I can help you with going through this, raising your rates, even if you don't feel confident with it yet. I do this all day long. I've been doing this for years. I know what gets in the way and how to handhold you through the process. So recognize that you need to connect with your own value before somebody else can recognize the value of what you have to offer. Is there a question that came up, Steve?
No.
Okay, I just want to make sure. And that happened with Carolina. It was a whole mindset thing with her. She was still working in an agency when we first connected. She had an idea for a business. She thought that she had to go back to school and get a doctorate in order to be able to then go out on her own as a business owner. I challenged her on that, telling her that I don't think she needs to go back to school for 2 years to get a doctorate and to have an additional $100,000 in tuition fees that she would then have to pay back before she can open up her own business. And we talked about how that would work, talked about really fine-tuning her ideal client was the transformation that she offered them, how she already had expertise that she didn't even realize that she had, and the way to be able to get started now instead of waiting until she got additional credentials, which was a PhD behind her name. Her clients don't care about the letters behind her name. They don't care about what level of education that she has. What they care about is that she knows how to help them get that result. And she is fantastic at that. She's a natural leader. She's a natural inspiring motivator. And once we were able to plug that into her business and figure out her system of how she could do that, you could just see her face light up, and she fully owned it. She's like, yes, that was it. And she did it without that additional 2 years of college or $100,000 in tuition and loans that she would have to pay back probably for decades. So you're able to get out of your own way and apply what you learn very, very quickly. You don't need additional credentials or certifications. You simply need to connect with your value and the transformation that you make with your clients. And that is what your clients care more about. The next thing that you want to do is know how to communicate your new rates to your old clients, because that's the biggest problem. It's easier. So what I encourage you to do, if you're moving in this direction, is practice first with new clients coming on board. If you have people reaching out to you and they're not familiar with how you've done your business, practice first having a value conversation with a new client. Practice talking about your packages with a new client and dealing with the objections. Once you become comfortable with the new clients, then you want to go back to your older clients, letting them know that you're making a change in your business model and that you want to have a conversation with them to be able to see what it is that they want to achieve and how you're going to be able to help them do that. So once again, it's a value conversation that you're having with your current clients. However, they will be a little bit more resistant because they're used to working with you in a certain way, and they need to understand how they will benefit from this change and moving forward with you. Now, the really great thing that happens is the clients who truly appreciate what you have to offer are most likely to be able to, will most likely jump on board and move forward with you because they already value you. The ones that tend to be a non-ideal client, they're price sensitive, they challenge you, maybe you have to chase them for information, you really don't enjoy working with them that much. This actually has them self-qualify out, and they're probably not going to jump on board. So just know that going into the game. But even if you raise your fees 10% and you lost only 10% of your clients, you actually would be making more money doing less work. And that's just something to take into consideration is you might lose some of your clients who are non-ideal clients. They're more price sensitive. They want a lot from you for the lowest price available. They're loyal to your rate, not to you as the expert. And they might not come over with you, but because you're making a change in your pricing, you're going to end up earning more money, working less time. And that's how we start to double your income working half the time. The one thing I just kind of went into this already is, okay, you're letting them know that you want to have a value conversation, you need to inform them. Then you have the value conversation with your clients, focusing on what their needs, their wants, and their desires are. Think of them that they are in that hot, dry desert for 3 days. It's August. They are thirsty. And you want to have that conversation be where you show up with that glass of water, and instead of paying $1 or $2, they're now willing to pay you $200 to $1,000. Even if they pay $200, it's a 200% increase. And your value conversation positions what you have to offer according to that as opposed to your time. The next thing you want to do is really during that value conversation, you want to focus on being an advisor where your expertise helps them to achieve that thing that they want. Where you're coming through from positioning yourself as someone who's focusing on what's in their best interest, not in your best interest. This was a really painful lesson for me. When I first started moving into the value model with my business, I hadn't had a lot of sales conversations yet, but I was practicing with a new client, having a value conversation. We had a great conversation about what this person wanted, about the way that I could help. This person saw the fit. Then it came time for the ask. And I was relatively new in my business. I had some bills to pay. I could use the money. I knew that working with this person would be enjoyable for me and that I could help. But all of a sudden, I made an energetic switch. Instead of where this whole conversation I devoted to making it about them, their wants, their needs, their desires, when it came time to enrolling them, all of a sudden in my brain it started to transition where it became about me. I could use another client, I could use the money, I had some bills to pay. And when that happened and I made that change in focus, my eye contact must have changed, my energy changed, probably my body language changed. I know my tone of voice changed, and it was like I was rolling down a hill and I couldn't put the brakes on. I could feel what was happening, and I didn't have the insight as to how to stop myself while I was already in the downhill slide. This person sensed it and said, "So Lauren, why do you want to work with me?" And being of integrity, I was honest. I go, I know I can help you, and that I think it'll be really a lot of fun, and we're going to achieve all these things that we talked about. And I can use a new client right now. And this person said, "Well, let me think about it." And that's just when it was like, oh my gosh, I just ruined it. This person was going to step through the door of opportunity to work with me. And I just shut the door because I all of a sudden shifted to making it about me instead of them. After that conversation, I decided that never again was I going to allow that to happen. I need to figure out how to fix it. I really did a lot of homework. I talked to my coach about it. I got insights. And from there, I was really able to practice and get better in making that part of it not transactional, because that was the problem that happened. It became about me, about having more money in my bank account. And it stopped being about the client. And I was able to make it, instead of transactional, figure out how to make it coming from a place of extending an invitation and about it being about that person, that client, and me championing for them, me taking a stand for them until they could take a stand for themselves. And when I did that, everything happened. Everything changed. I never again went into that switch where it became about me instead of about them. And I know that that's part of what a lot of entrepreneurs and probably some of you experience, and there's a way to fix it. It is built into the value conversation. And you don't ever have to have that happen again, because it feels like you have to go and take a shower afterwards. It just feels out of integrity. And we need to change that so that you remain a trusted advisor. When you're talking about enrolling them into working with you, you're focusing on what's in their best interest as opposed to what's in your best interest. And that changes everything. And sometimes what's in their best interest is not to work with you. And be of integrity and be willing to let them know that too. So once you get into that value conversation, that's when you start to offer your 3 different packages of how someone can work with you. So that they have options of how to work with you, not if they want to work with you or maybe move on to somebody else. This lets them think about how they want to work with you. And the thing to know is that if you've done this well, they'll see the value, and there's likely to be an objection, because we are a culture that's conditioned to say no first to a risk. A lot of times what I've seen with my clients is when an objection comes up, they misread it, they misinterpret it. They see it as an end to the conversation, and it's not an end to the conversation. It's actually the most important part of the conversation. Mm-hmm. They're saying, I'm interested, I simply don't see the full value yet, or I have more questions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You want to be able to lean in and help them work through those questions or find the value, instead of pull back and say, well, I'm sorry to hear that. Thank you very much. And send them out the door, because what happens then is they got in touch with what they need. They're ready to make an investment. And because you couldn't stay with them the whole way through to the end, you primed them to signing on pretty easily with the next person that they go and talk with. So you did all the work, and some other entrepreneur gets the benefits of all the work that you did. They reap the benefits because you couldn't stay with it. You misread it. And it's important that you learn how to fix that. No, don't get surprised when an objection comes up. Know the top 3 to 5 objections that will come up. Now, the top 3 are going to be, I can't afford it. I don't have the time. I have to talk, and I had to talk with a partner about this. Those are typically the top 3. Know how you want to respond to them. And there might be 2 more that could be industry specific for you. If you know what your top 5 objections are, you're prepared for them, you're going to have a very different response to them than if you're not prepared and it's like hitting you full in the face all over again every single time an objection comes up. So know those top 5, be prepared with how you want to respond, and that way you're going to be able to actually have more people start that value conversation with you and go all the way through to enrolling and being able to finally make that action step of getting it done and having trust that you can do that. That brings belief. It gives them peace of mind. They're now able to fully step into something that they've been having on their plate or thinking about and worrying about for a long, long time. And you know how to help them make that transformation. So become aware of what your objections are. And with Roger, he had a real estate license, but he also did staging for his clients. And he was actually the person taking care of their 1-year-old baby. His wife worked a day job. So she had a steady paycheck. He was doing staging, and he thought the way to grow his business was to price competitively and price less than everybody else. And because of that, it was a grind for him. He was working a lot and he wasn't really making that much money. And he was scared about investing in his business because if you know anything about staging, you actually have to invest money in furniture in order to be able to stage more houses. So we started to connect with his value. And the value that he had was that he had a real estate license and he was a stager. And because of that, he brought insight and he saved his clients time because he actually worked primarily with realtors, staging homes that they were listing. And by them working with him, and this is the value that his clients benefit from, they were able to get a higher closing price for a house that they had listed. And it was less days on the market. And once he was able to connect with that value, he was able to then start to value price his services. And it made a huge difference. He added, I think, 2 different team members to his team. And that freed him up to really focus on his highest value and not have to do the actual hands-on of moving furniture or of staging. And it freed him up, and he was able to go take a vacation with his family in South America, and it didn't affect his income flow whatsoever. So it was just about shifting how he approached things and how he was commoditizing his services and being able to find his expertise and lead with that. That changed his whole business model.
So we covered a lot today, Lauren. We talked about the #1 pricing mistake. We showed people how to value price their services, and you talked about the 5 steps to value pricing. And I know that you really, really shared a lot. And you talked about the packages and the program that you have, but do you have anything else for them, or would anything you'd like to go over about that packaging pricing bootcamp?
Yes, I just want to say, if this resonates with you, if you can really feel that you're ready to get this done, you want to roll up your sleeves, you know what you want, you simply don't know how to do it, then the Ultimate Pricing Bootcamp is absolutely for you. As I said before, we're going to go through positioning. It's going to be in-person calls. We're going to figure out your signature system to focus on where you're an expert and where your intellectual property, what you know, is what you want to lead with. How to be able to start to create your packages, where you might be holding yourself back or you have some doubts and concerns and be able to work those through, and then how to value price your services in order to stop trading dollars for hours and break free of the trading time for money model. So if you know that this is for you, go to businesssuccesssolution.com/pricing. Steve, if you can put that link in the chat once again.
Sure, absolutely.
But once again, it's going to be over 5 weeks starting in February. They're going to be live in-person calls. I'm going to answer your questions. I'm going to roll up my sleeves. I'm going to walk you through all the steps to get this done. You are going to see, this is an investment. It's not a cost. You will make more money, most likely before you even finish the course. You'll make your investment back. It's like $2,000. I'll let you know, my clients that work with me privately in my mastermind and my coaching, they are paying many, many more times than that to be able to get something similar. If you do this in the Ultimate Pricing Bootcamp right now, the price is $9.97. The first 10 people that register get that 30 minutes with me where I review your packages, help you find where you're still leaving money on the table, value price it in order to be able to have this be something that you can do over and over and over again. It's like compounding interest. It's the fastest path to wealth. Value pricing is the fastest way to increase your income without having more cost or having to work harder to be able to make more money. So if that is right for you, I encourage you to go to businesssuccesssolution.com/pricing. Register now, get in there, be one of the first 10 people to get that half-hour bonus with me, and we will get this done for you in the get-go in the new year. So thank you so much. I really appreciate all of your questions, the dialogue that we had, taking away things that are going to help to advance your business. And I look forward to talking with you soon. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. See you all.